This is one of those stories that it just sticks with you. It seems almost impossible, but it's a real dark chapter in American history. We're going to dive into one of the country's most haunting and completely unsolved mysteries, the Belmont estate vanishing. 300. Just let that number sink in for a second. We're talking about an entire community, men, women, children. And they didn't just drift away over time. Nope. They vanished in a single night. And the way it happened, it's just impossible. On Christmas morning, 1859, the overseer at Belmont Estate goes to unlock the quarters and finds them completely empty. The doors were still barred from the outside, exactly how he'd left them. No footprints, no sign of a struggle. Everyone was simply gone. And the only things left behind? The chains that had bound some of them, just lying there, coiled on the cold dirt floors. You see, this wasn't just a disappearance. It was a powerful, chilling statement. So how could this possibly happen? Well, to even begin to understand the vanishing, we have to go back 9 months to when a very particular man arrived, a man whose work turned Belmont from a place of brutal labor into something much, much worse, a laboratory of fear. Meet Dr. Silas Creighton. Now, he wasn't a medical doctor. He was a self-proclaimed expert in what he called labor efficiency. He shows up and makes an offer that the plantation owner, Thomas Vance, just couldn't refuse. A massive boost in profits without buying any more land or people. The only catch? Creighton needed total control over the enslaved population. Creighton's system was chillingly methodical. First came the assessments. He measured everything: arm span, reaction times, even psychological responses. Then he created these detailed profiles and began what he called corrective interventions for anyone he decided wasn't efficient enough. This quote comes from a survivor describing a young woman named Ruth after one of Creighton's treatments. You have to understand, these weren't just punishments. They were specifically designed to break a person's spirit, to leave them as empty, mechanical shells. And things escalated so fast. What started as these weird, unsettling observations in March, well, by July, people were actually dying after his sessions. Ruth's public breaking in August, though, that was the moment that cemented the new reality at Belmont. It became a place of absolute terror. But here's the incredible twist. In his arrogance, Creighton was convinced he was crushing their will to resist. But in reality, his cruelty was the very thing that was forging an unbreakable, secret resolve to get free. You see, Creighton saw a bunch of individuals that he could break down and manipulate. What he completely missed was the truth. His experiments were binding them together. That shared suffering became a shared strength. He never, ever saw the collective planning that was happening right under his nose. And the catalyst for their plan was a skilled carpenter named Samuel. He had a bit more freedom to move around the plantation, and he made this astonishing discovery: a hidden, forgotten drainage tunnel leading from a root cellar right beneath the one place Creighton thought was his untouchable domain. I mean, the sheer audacity of this plan is just breathtaking. For 8 solid months, they worked in secret. They cleared that tunnel by hand, in total darkness. They used children singing songs with coded messages to communicate. And they somehow coordinated a pickup with the Underground Railroad, all while planning to move an entire community in one single night. So, everything was set, a perfect plan born from desperation and sheer brilliance. But on Christmas Eve, just as they put it all into motion, it collided head-on with Dr. Creighton's final twisted experiment. While the plantation owner and his guests were celebrating, Samuel picked the lock on his cabin door. The escape was on. Group by group, they slipped into the darkness of the tunnel, moving toward the river, moving toward freedom. But Creighton had found the tunnel 2 weeks earlier. And instead of stopping them, he saw it as an opportunity for his ultimate behavioral study. He waited inside with a couple of hired men, ready to observe his subjects under the most extreme pressure you can possibly imagine. So when Creighton reveals himself, pistol in hand, he expected terror. He expected them to submit. What he got was something else entirely. A single voice started to sing one of their coded songs. Then another joined in, and another, until the whole tunnel was just filled with this powerful, defiant chorus.
This unified singing, this steady advance, it completely unnerved Cratton. He panicked, turned to run, and dropped his oil lamp. The old, dry timber supports in the tunnel, they caught fire instantly. It was chaos.
The fire spread with terrifying speed, weakening the whole structure. And then, with this deafening roar, a section of the tunnel just collapsed, bringing tons of earth down with it. The path was completely, totally blocked. The outcome was just stark. 17 people, including Samuel, were ahead of the collapse. They made it to the river. But behind that wall of fire and earth, 283 souls were trapped. When authorities eventually excavated the tunnel, they expected to find hundreds of bodies. But instead, they found nothing. The tunnel was empty. When those 17 survivors were discovered in Philadelphia weeks later, it only made the central question even more urgent. But the survivors' stories, they didn't really add up. One person said they heard singing continue from behind the collapse. Another swore they saw people on the other side deliberately pulling the tunnel down on themselves. And then there were these whispers of a backup plan, a secret they called the Deep Way. So historians have come up with a few theories, but every single one has a fatal flaw. Mass death in the tunnel? Okay, but where are the bodies? An alternate escape route? Then why would they seal the main tunnel behind them? Did they form a secret community? Maybe, but why stay hidden even after emancipation? None of the normal explanations seem to fit the facts. And that brings us right back to the most haunting piece of this whole puzzle. This phrase, repeated by the survivors, the Deep Way. What was it? Was it a physical place? Was it a code for another route? Or was it something else entirely? And in the end, we're left with this profound idea, one that's been passed down through generations, that maybe the escape from Belmont wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. Maybe, forged in the fire of Creighton's experiments, they found a different kind of freedom, a transformation so complete that it made them invisible to a system that could only ever see them as property. It's a haunting possibility, a final act that wasn't just about vanishing, but about becoming something their masters could never comprehend, let alone find.